How were you as a kid? What were you into? How did you spend your time? And what did you dream of doing?
I remember the day that I left school, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
What do you think were some of the key challenges in those early days that you maybe did not foresee?
I mean, it's ironic. The only reason I ended up in Parliament was because...
Kia ora, welcome. I'm Zoe. I'm so excited to have you join me on this podcast that celebrates and supports women from all walks of life. Whether we're chatting with inspiring wahine, sharing real stories, or diving into the things that truly matter to us, we've got it all covered. It's time to shine a light on the incredible women doing amazing things right here in Aotearoa and beyond. So hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and come join the kōrero. We can't wait to have you join us. Kia ora and welcome back to Golden Glimmers. I'm your host, Zoe Tomlinson-Rout, and today I'm incredibly honoured to welcome a very special guest into the studio, Lianne Dalziel. Lianne is someone whose leadership has shaped the lives of so many here in Aotearoa. As a long-serving Member of Parliament, Cabinet Minister, and as the former Mayor of Christchurch, her legacy in politics and public service is significant. But today we're here to explore the women behind the titles. This is a safe space for real, honest kōrero, and I feel so grateful to have Lianne joining us to share parts of her journey which we don't often get to hear. The personal reflections, the moments of transition, the challenges, and the quiet strength it takes to lead with both head and heart. Lianne, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Zoe.
No mai, haere mai, and welcome to Golden Glimmers.
Kia ora.
Did that feel awkward, hearing that, or are you just kind of used to this? So...
No, I raised my eyebrow, one eyebrow, just a couple of times during it, but yeah.
But no. Okay?
Yeah, it's all right.
Cool. So here are
Very generous.
Oh. No, I'm pumped that you're here. So here are the warm-up questions. What is your favourite drink?
Well, I guess it would be a mango smoothie if I were being politically correct.
Yeah.
It would be a Negroni if I wasn't.
Yeah, nice. I love how you tell me anyway. Cool. So movies, books or sports? Well,
because I went back to university last year, I went off books for a while, but I've just read a book all the way through very quickly. So I do like books.
Nice.
I read a lot of non-fiction, which is probably not very exciting, but I love movies.
Yeah,
I
nice.
love movies.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's your favourite movie? Do you have one?
Yeah, there's a movie that goes back a wee while, and it's called Secrets and Lies.
Yeah, okay.
And now I'm going to forget who the director was, but it had it was just an incredible story, and it was about a woman who was waiting out. It starts off with an image of this woman waiting outside a train station, and or a subway tube station in the UK, and she's waiting for somebody, and it turns out that she's waiting for the daughter that she adopted out at birth many, many years ago.
Right.
And it becomes very clear that the daughter, who actually has been standing on the other side of the station, and they haven't looked at each other because neither of them expects what the other looks like. And it's a very sad but compelling story about disappointment, what might have been, and a family that struggles to deal with each other's challenges.
Yeah.
So it was one of those really meaningful films.
Has it been a fave for a while?
Yeah, it has been a favourite for a while. Now, if you'd asked me when I was younger, it would have been Sound of Music and Mary Poppins and all of the musicals. I'm a musical fan.
Are you a Grease fan?
Well, Grease I was well into my teens when that came out, or might have even been early 20s. I don't know. I can't remember when it came out. But
it's a bit cheesy, isn't it?
It was a little bit cheesy for me. And then looking at it in retrospect, I mean, my niece, who I'm incredibly proud of, she played Sandy in the Rangiora version of the show, and she's stunning. She could do Olivia Newton-John proud, but she was, but the story itself, it's kind of sexist, and and her dressing up like that at the end to prove a point to a guy just because she fancies him, not my cup of tea.
I know, do you know, it's so funny because I thought it was such a cool movie when I was younger, and the dancing and the whole shebang, but I watched it like not that long ago as an adult, and I was like, oh, so we're
it's a little bit embarrassing.
And we're getting like encouraging females to change their whole persona to like match what he, like, I don't know. It's funny when that kind of happens, where you're like, oh, I must have grown and learned and, changed a little bit for my lens to change.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, funny. And the other question that I had was, would you rather...
But I have to slip this one in here. Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yeah.
Just love it.
Yeah,
100%.
Nice. The Time
and it's
Warp.
Still great.
Yeah. Man, I grew up with that, like playing on video all of the time. Yeah, funny. Last question. Would you rather have a city apartment or like a country abode?
I have a city apartment and I will never move.
Yeah, nice. We live in the city as well and I really like it. But I grew up on a farm, so I kind of like...
No, well, I've always lived in the city, but never in the central city. Now I live in the central city and I love it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Oh, and especially now, like how good is the city now?
I know, it's fantastic.
It's thriving.
It's coming alive.
I love it because I remember, like I've been in the city for a good 10 years now, and people would like say to me like, oh, how's that going for you? Yeah. But I love it now that the whole narrative's changed and so many people are talking so positively.
And the university's flourishing. There are students coming here from other parts of the country, let alone from other countries, because they want to be part of this vibrant environment.
Up and coming. Yeah, cool. So before we get into like some of the things that you've done later kind of in your life, I'd be really keen to know, who were you as a kid? What were you into? How did you spend your time? And what did you dream of doing?
Well, I probably did dream of being on a stage, singing and dancing, but that was never to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I grew up here in Christchurch, Otautahi. I lived in a little cul-de-sac called Walnut Avenue, which is over Papanui.
Yeah.
The real estate agents have changed the name of the area to Strohan, but it wasn't a posh area. I grew up. I've got 3 brothers and 3 sisters, so there's 7 of us.
Where do you sit in the...
I'm number 2, first girl, but number 2. And I don't know, we lived not far from the state school, which was Waimaere Primary School, so I walked there until I was old enough to bicycle, and then I biked to a Catholic school. So mum and dad were Catholic, so we were brought up in the church, and so we moved on to a Catholic church. I went to a Catholic secondary school, which was quite some distance away. It was like biking from Papanui through to Jelly Park every day. That was the equivalent. It's now a drug and alcohol rehab centre, which I think is an appropriate fitting end to the school.
Yeah, right. And I did a bit of research of you, like obviously, just to be prepared for this interview. So it seems to me like I've interviewed other politicians in the past that didn't necessarily expect to end up where they were, but you look like with what you studied and that sort of thing, that from a bit of a younger age you were already on the path. How did that come about?
Well, no, not really, because I remember the day that I left school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I left school a year earlier than I should have because the school actually closed.
Right.
It shut down, and so I had a year to fill in. Mum and Dad enrolled me at Girls High, I think, but I didn't go back to school. I went and worked for a law firm for a year, and I suddenly went, that's what I could do. I could do a law degree, which is what put me onto the law. And I mean, honestly, up until then, I'd been through every sort of suggestion that my mother had, and I just couldn't think, what would interest me, what would excite me. And of course, law was an easy thing to get excited about because there are all these television programs, like LA Law and stuff like that gave you a feeling of excitement.
Totally.
And it had an element of performance within it as well.
For sure.
But anyway, I did the degree, and then I really wasn't that interested in going into the legal profession. So I ended up working for the Canterbury Hotel and Hospital Workers Union. And so I got involved in the union when I was working in the hospital kitchen, which is what we did back in the day when we were students.
Yeah.
We'd have an income to support ourselves by getting a job.
That is so interesting. Obviously, as an HR, I deal with unions all the time.
Right.
And we're just about to enter our season of kind of bargaining and that sort of thing. Do you feel like there's been quite a shift in terms of relationships with unions?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
In many respects, that's why I ended up in Parliament, or partly. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. It's ironic. The only reason I ended up in Parliament was because Mike Moore, who'd taken over the leadership of the Labour Party and become the Prime Minister about, sort of 2 months before a general election, his immediate predecessor, he took over from Geoffrey Palmer, who held the seat of Christchurch Central. And so he then announced that he wasn't going to run again. So the Labour Party was looking for a candidate for Christchurch Central. I didn't want to nominate, and then finally I was persuaded to put my hat in the ring, and I won the nomination. So I was nominated on the I was selected on the 19th of September, which is the 1990, which is the Women's Suffrage Day.
Right, cool.
And the only reason it was the 19th of September was because the selection meeting went after midnight, so it flicked over into the next day.
That's so iconic. That's the stars kind of align.
That was my start, and then I was elected on the 27th of October, 1990. So this year, 1990, what is it? 35 years since I was elected.
Yeah, right. So the time frame from him kind of announcing his resignation.
No, 30 years. 30. No.
No, 35.
35.
1990. Yeah.
1990, yeah,
35,
sorry.
yeah.
Sorry, 35.
So from his announcement to you getting appointed, what was that time frame?
His announcement it was probably 2 months. it was the beginning of September. It was the beginning of September, and I was elected on the 27th of October.
Yeah, right. So that just all happened really fast for
Very
you.
fast.
And what was that like in the moment?
Well, in the moment, it was pretty exciting because, I knew that if I got nominated, I would win the seat because it was under first past the post.
Yeah.
And it was a safe Labour seat.
Yeah.
And I knew that I had to work very hard in a very short space of time. But in many respects, people forgive the amount that you can do because it's a very short space of time. And I found a number of people had said, I voted for you the other, 2 years ago when you stood for the Secretary of the Union. So some people had got used to voting for me already.
Yeah, cool. And what was that like for, your family and friends and people around you? Because that would have been quite quick for them as well.
Probably it was a bit sudden in some respects because I'd got married a year before then, and that marriage didn't survive my time in Parliament. But to be fair to my former husband, he was very understanding under the circumstances, but he did not sign up for a wife that was going to be out of the city
all of the
more
time.
days than not,
Yeah, and so public facing as well.
And it's very difficult, and there's a lot of background work that goes into running campaigns and being involved in all of that stuff. And as I say, it wasn't what he signed up for.
Yeah, and it's not a 40-hour job, eh? And
No.
the other thing is that I think
It's a commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, lifestyle choice, eh? And I
Yeah.
think that, did you find like quite quickly you had to kind of change a little bit in terms of just being, you're no longer anonymous? Like,
Well, I don't know. As I say, I'd run for the secretary's role in the union, so I had a reasonable profile in the city anyway.
Yeah.
But I was very young. I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't believe it now. But it was, the other thing was that I was actually quite, I don't know, I was reasonably nervous at speaking, but you just had to cover up for it, like you sort of learnt quite quickly. Here's me using you. I had to cover up quite quickly any sense of nerves that I might have and try and sound as if I knew what I was talking about.
Confident and that sort of thing. Yeah, right. And what do you think, if we look at that kind of chapter of your life, like what were kind of the biggest challenges? Like obviously you were trying to navigate your relationship and that sort of thing. Was that your kind of first lesson on like sacrifice and?
Well, yes and no. I mean, like I grew up in, because of the family that I grew up in, a large family. Yeah. I mean, we had a good understanding of the principles of social justice. Yeah. And that's really been a driver for me all of my life. And I don't know, I just don't, I've always regarded the positions that I've held as positions of service. Yeah. So you're giving service to others, and that very much is the way I was brought up. Yeah. To believe that was the right thing to do.
Oh, totally. And I mean, when you grow up in such a large family as well, I guess that you don't really have the chance to be selfish or anything like that,
The thing
right?
was that I didn't have to wear hand-me-downs.
Yeah, right. First girl, eh? Yeah. So I grew up, I've got two older sisters, but my parents ran the foster home in Nelson.
Right.
So like, very much from, I guess, a background of giving back and what can you contribute to society and, a bit of sharing resources and that sort of thing as well. And it's so interesting. My dad now works at the prison and he does he runs the farm there and teaches the prisoners skills so that they can get employment when they get out and stuff. And it always makes me smile a little bit how much joy and satisfaction he has in his job, because every single day he just feels like he's making a little bit of difference, or at least hopes that he can. Yeah. But I think it's quite interesting as well when you meet people from totally different backgrounds where that's not front of mind at all.
No. That's right. And I think, look, people ask about, the different political parties and various other things. I can't imagine that people go into Parliament with sort of kind of ill intent. I think that people tend to want to go and do good. Yeah. Now, I might have a different view about some of the behaviours of late. The introduction of legislation that is designed to meet a particular political purpose. It doesn't necessarily take our country forward. Yeah. In fact, in many respects, it's an attempt to take it backwards. Yeah. But it's a sort of liberalism at its worst, because it uses the language of freedom, but in fact, it's quite, I don't know, demeaning and actually demeaning of those that have worked very hard to try and understand what the issues are that need to be addressed in order to, sort of kind of survive the 21st century. Yeah, including climate change.
And all of those big things, eh? Yeah, it is really interesting in that space at the moment. I totally hear. It's almost like there's been so much work to progress and to kind of resolve some of the the large problems that we have and that sort of thing. And then, like I guess in the last few years, it just feels like we've been taking a few steps backwards, and really unfortunate because it's not everyone, right? Like there's
but I've felt that for a long time about, like when I was young and involved in the union movement, we were talking about pay equity back then, and now, you just sort of see it coming full circle, and you see language that has been imported from overseas, this DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which you'll be familiar with. Unless you've got diversity, you're not going to make good decisions. Unless you've got inclusive environments, you're not going to make people feel comfortable or want to work for your firm. I mean, a lot of young people these days are actually looking for values before they look at the bottom line of a company.
Totally, especially this like next generation coming through, it's so interesting, like this young generation, where I also just think that they've been privy to seeing like my generation and like that kind of thing working so hard and it not really being like worth it, so they're kind of like, well, actually I'd rather work somewhere which has got good vibes and I get paid and they're nice and that sort of thing than anything else.
But they want to know what their investment policy is. Are you going to be investing in fossil fuels? Is that the industry you want to have your investment capital sitting in? And they're not gonna put their hand up to be involved in companies like that. So and it's just not forward thinking. We need to be thinking in a far more sort of expansive mode, because we're not going to survive the 21st century if we're not careful.
It's a ticking time bomb, really. Did you have, like, in that early stage of your career, did you have like a mentor or someone? Like, how are you getting through?
Well, okay, so when you get nominated to run for Parliament and you've only got sort of a few weeks, like 6 weeks or something to get elected, then you sort of kind of call on your, who's around. And I had two people that were my joint campaign managers. One who at the time was on an invalid's benefit, and the other one who was on her retirement pension. So I had both the age ranges covered. And she used to door knock for me, and she'd say, "Look, I've got white hair. You can trust me. I know what I'm talking about."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it was kind of. And the other thing is that my friend, who she is my friend still to this day. But with her, she ended up working in my office, and it was interesting because of her disability, we would go into places and I would suddenly see through her eyes the barrier.
Yeah.
And the barrier wasn't her disability. The barrier was the attitude of others and the environments within which people expect all people to be able to navigate. Well, some people with disabilities can't navigate the same environments that others can, which means we have to adjust the environments. So she taught me a lot. Another one was that the number of people who asked her what she had done to her leg. Because she was young, they assumed that she had broken a leg. So we just created stories about what we would answer.
Some like extreme sports or animal or something?
Well, extreme sports was obvious, and yes, that did happen a lot, but my favourite was that she was the stunt double for Xena Warrior Princess and fell off a horse.
That's so good.
Is that cool?
Yeah. And Xena, of all people, eh? Cool. And
well, she did look like Xena Warrior Princess, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah. And that obviously she's a good-natured person to be able to like have that sort of...
Well, we had to because, we didn't have to. The thing is that it helped me understand. I actually, for a period of time, was the Minister for Disability Issues.
Yeah.
And I can attribute my knowledge and understanding to that personal friendship that I've had for so many years.
Right. Yeah. And what do you think were some of the key challenges in those early days that you maybe did not foresee that you had to navigate?
The reason I laugh is that because you can't remember because you weren't there, but 1990 was 1991, which was the first full year in Parliament. That was the year of the budget that the then Minister of Finance, Ruth Richardson, labelled the mother of all budgets, and it also they had also tied it up with a sort of a kind of an end of year budget before that one, a mini budget, where they'd brought in the benefit cuts and they'd brought in the employment contracts bill, so. We were a very small caucus. I think there were about 29 of us, and there were nearly 100 MPs. So you can see that we got defeated in the 1990 election.
That was the challenge, whole thing. Yeah. The
whole thing. But all of a sudden, we're facing the most extreme set of interventions in what was the welfare state, I guess. On every level. They even had, we used to say cash registers in hospitals, it's when they brought in Crown Health Enterprises so that rather than hospitals, it was just in many respects it felt like madness. And in my valedictory speech when I left, I sort of looked back and I said, for me it felt like the underpinnings of the welfare state had been withdrawn. But I leave the place believing that our responsibility is to build a community that's resilient to the ebbs and flows of the political tide, because we can't afford having these changes, these swings. One government does this, the next government comes in and repeals it all, and then the next government comes in and repeals that, and it's just this toing and froing. I think there are some things that are so important that we actually have to agree to do them in a constructive way. Totally. And infrastructure, given your interest, infrastructure is a key one of those.
Yeah.
We are too small as a nation to allow any, to allow the extent of the infrastructure deficit which we have allowed in this country. So people can talk about rates and they can talk about tax increases and they can talk about this till they come here. But the reality is that the infrastructure quality that we have in this country is not good enough to survive what may hit us. So if you look at what's happened up in Tasman, 3 times they've been hammered. You look at the severe weather events in the North Island in 2023, apart from feeling frustrated that they learnt nothing from Christchurch, nothing.
Yeah.
And you kind of see them repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again. I wrote a column once and I said, for goodness sake, I think we should ban the word unprecedented. No minister should ever be allowed to say this is an unprecedented event because there's a precedent somewhere.
Yeah.
And you should be looking for the precedents and you should be learning from them.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll write about it one day.
It's really interesting, and those extremes are so right. I often think about, there's so many smart people, right? Smart people making big decisions, and I'm like, why do we spend so much time and resources going to that extreme as well? Just so much good work is done, and then it's no, we're not doing any of that, and it's a load of crap or whatever, and then we go to that. Can you guys communicate and meet in the middle, and maybe
Yeah, there are some things that we could agree. We could agree on a process for infrastructure. Even if we don't necessarily agree on the priorities, but could we have an agreed process for setting those priorities?
Yeah.
And once an agreement has been reached in a particular, space, can we have can we have some certainty attached to it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. We've failed to future-proof our nation, and I know that future-proofing is probably, you know, the word proof, you know, means that nothing can happen. But that's future-proofing is really about building resilient infrastructure and resilient communities.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I fret about what's going on in the world at the moment, and you know, I think that we are a nation of such a size. You know, we're kind of a largish sort of country with a very small population located at the bottom of the world. We can do things down here simply because we can.
Of their isolation and space.
I mean, I personally think that's where that number 8 wire, you know, mentality came from, was that nobody told us we couldn't do things. And so we just do them.
And also literally like a lack of access to resources and things, so just
Exactly.
making
so
it
you
work.
Make it do.
Trialling.
Yeah. And we could, you know, and we did, you know, in some respects. Some of the neat things that came out after the earthquakes here were some of the, you know, just sort of sprung from the community thing, the greening the rubble and
totally
life in vacant spaces and gap filler. You know, they came up with crazy ideas
with like no
that
money.
Just captured people's imagination.
Totally, I think that was one of my favourite things of living in the city after the earthquake. That I think
the Restart Mall.
And lots of people, I don't know if they just like couldn't quite see past all of the rubble and, you know, that sort of thing. But you know how there was in town, there was like the dance floor,
like
that was super cool, and those like big couches, and there was actually heaps of things in there that were, and you could tell there wasn't a huge budget for it or whatever. But I almost think that like is what made it kind of quirky and charismatic as well, right? It's like it was done by the people. Yeah.
And I mean, that got us a mention in the New York Times, and it got us a mention in Lonely Planet.
Yeah.
You know, and what they were talking about was the innovation and the flair and the wit and the energy. You know, those were words used to describe our city in the aftermath of an incredible disaster.
Yeah.
So if that's the case when things are bad, doesn't that explain why it now has this real sense of vibrancy?
Totally.
And
because it can only get better.
It can only get better.
Yeah, you're so right.
Things can only get better.
I do have a question for you. So, being the mayor after such a big event, how was it when you would have been kind of personally going through your own experience of the earthquake, but then also having to be such a strong leader?
No. People mistake the timing.
Right.
So the first earthquake was actually 15 years in 1 month's time. So
crazy.
4th of September 2010. And then the February earthquake, 2011.
Yeah.
So I didn't become the mayor until October 2013.
Right.
So they'd already done the blueprint, they'd already done share an idea, they'd already done the cost-sharing agreement, you know, which actually I was very annoyed about because they knew that the mayoralty was going to change and they signed a deal.
You would have liked to have had your
I
own...
would have liked to have had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that, you know, it's been expensive for the government and it's been expensive for the city.
Yeah.
And it didn't need to be orchestrated the way that it was.
Yeah. It's almost like you get given the job, but then you have the plans already in motion without...
Yeah. So that's why it wasn't quite the same. My own circumstances had changed. Obviously, we got red zoned, and we'd moved into a house in Burwood, but I didn't expect to end up being the mayor. So again, I got talked into it, and so I finally agreed. And then it took us a long time to find. Well, we weren't interested in moving immediately, but we did find the perfect apartment in town.
And you say that you were convinced to become mayor. What were your kind of pros and cons?
Well, the thing is that the previous election, there'd been a number of us looking for somebody to run for mayor. Because the mayor at the time, Bob Parker, who was very good during the earthquake, so I'm not in any way critical of him in that regard. He was fantastic. Couldn't be better to have a communicator in that core role after an earthquake. But he had become very unpopular before the 2010 election, and so we asked Jim Anderton if he would run, and Jim agreed. And Jim was miles ahead in the polls, and the earthquake happened 6 weeks before the election. And I still to this day believe that if the earthquake had happened a month later, or even a few days later after the election, then Jim Anderton would have been the mayor of Christchurch.
Right.
So, and that would have been a completely different story, and possibly I wouldn't have been persuaded to run for the mayoralty the next time, because we would have wanted Jim to stay in that role.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And how did it go? Like, obviously your family would have been kind of used to where your career and things.
I was married again, and so it's just me and Robbie.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, he had kids, but I didn't have kids, so.
Right, yeah, that's so interesting. And so he kind of knew that's who you were.
He knew. So unlike my first husband, Robbie married me when I was already a Cabinet Minister.
Yeah, right.
So we started going out together when I was a Member of Parliament, sort of in my 30s, and we got married in 2000.
Ah, interesting. I'm a stepmum.
Right.
Anna's my stepdaughter.
I'm not a stepmum because I refuse to accept that two grown-up boys who've got a perfectly good mother of their own, who they're very happy with, I refuse to be called their stepmother, because I wasn't. I didn't raise them. I didn't have anything to do with them.
Because how old were they?
Oh, they were, I mean, I think Mike would have been, I don't know, 19 or 20,
right. So it wasn't the childhood lunches.
Leon had already gone overseas, you know. Like, so it was,
fair enough.
But I have got a lovely granddaughter out of it. Yeah. Because you can never have enough grandmothers. Yeah,
no, totally.
You can have too many mothers, but you cannot have enough grandmothers. So I've accepted that she's my granddaughter.
I love it.
And I'm thrilled with it, you know. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy that she's my granddaughter. It's not that I've accepted it. I'm absolutely stoked. Yeah. She's such a gorgeous girl, and my late husband, her grandfather, he loved her to pieces. So I'm just thrilled to be part of their lives.
That's so sweet. Yeah, it's funny because I was present for the kids' kind of childhood and that sort of thing. But I always have this thing where I'm like, I don't want the kids to have kids anytime soon, but I also can't wait because I feel like it's a different relationship.
It is a different relationship.
Yeah,
it's
and
nice.
it feels like a different set of rules as well, like of kind of engagement where,
Although I always like to check in with mum and dad, because I would not get her something which, or show her something or whatever, movie or whatever, unless I'd really checked it out with her parents first, Yeah. But she's getting older. She must be 15 now.
Oh, right. Yeah. Different era, eh? Yeah. Cool. And then with the whole mayor bit, you obviously had to traverse quite a range of different things in your time. What were the highlights?
Look, there were a lot. So the thing is that I really liked representing the city. So I liked citizenship ceremonies. I liked different award ceremonies, for civic service or community service. I liked opening conferences and welcoming people to the city and sort of speaking for the city. I liked doing keynote addresses both locally and internationally on behalf of the city, so that people would see what we'd been through and where we were going. So I did enjoy all of that. In retrospect, and only because they've made a film about it, I don't know if you've seen the film Morris and I, but it's a film about Morris Marnie and Sir Miles Warren, which is Warren and Marnie, they're architects.
Yeah.
And it's the story about their architectural partnership and their life. They were so different. I always say that Morris was the technical genius and Miles was the creative genius.
Yeah.
And he always did watercolours of the architectural designs that they were submitting for approval.
Yeah.
And they were just an incredible, but they're totally different backgrounds. So they come from different sides of the tracks. But they were just incredible together.
Yeah.
And then it's a whole story about brutalism as a form of architecture, which of course has had some interest because of the movie. But it's also, broader interest. But there's a lot of interest in brutalism and the style of it, and there are explanations given of the different elements of brutalism that perhaps I hadn't really even appreciated to the full extent. But it's a very good film from that perspective. And then it's the competition for the town hall, and then it's then they win the competition, and it's a discussion around the building of it, but the acoustics. And Sir Harold Marshall was interviewed for it as well. So these guys who've all since died have been interviewed for this movie, it's a great story.
Cool.
And then there's the earthquake, but confronting, and then it's the blueprint, no town hall. So the government decided we'll knock it down, and then the next bit is the fight for the town hall, and so there is quite extensive scenes of the council meetings where we decided to save the town hall, and it was and so it's actually made me look very good.
Nice. Perfect.
So I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
But that's not the reason to go and see the film. The film is great.
Yeah, cool.
It's brilliantly put together. Jane Marnie and Rick Harvey. Jane is Morris's daughter. And,
that's so nice.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And they've won international awards for it. It's a tremendous film. So I'm recommending it to you,
Totally.
and I'm recommending it to your listeners.
Everyone, yeah. That's so interesting hearing that. Definitely need to have a look. And also cool getting some good press, because
Yes, I know. And you don't always get good press. But the funny thing is people used to say to me, oh, it's a thankless job. And I go, no, on the contrary, every day I'd go out on the street and somebody would stop and thank me for doing the right job. And obviously my popularity might have waned over a period of time because people do get, so they kind of want to move on.
Yeah.
And I did 3 terms. So, and I must admit, after Robbie died, I think the secret spark disappeared. So,
different chapter.
It wasn't quite the same. But anyway, it's so nice to have this ending on a positive note, in the sense that the film has now meant that a lot of people have come up to me in the street and said, I had no idea what you had to do as mayor. Oh, it's such an amazing thing. So So I'm very pleased.
Yeah, there's like a kind of nice, like tidy, like ribbon on it, and
Yeah,
you can be like,
it's a ribbon on it. You're quite right. Yeah.
thank you, and let's like file this here nice and tight and tidy. Yeah, cool. Because I mean, I'm sure, you would have had to build a lot of resilience with, being so front and center of the press and that sort of thing. Were you always a leader? Like, was that kind of clear? And is that maybe part of you being one of the firstborn kind of siblings in a large family?
Look, I don't know. I don't think I'm a natural born leader, if there is such a thing. I've kind of struggled with what do they call it, imposter syndrome. I know others have used that term all my life, and it was kind of like, yay, I finished as mayor and nobody caught me out,
Yeah, like a relief.
I was never supposed to be there in the first place. But I think that also people don't fully appreciate what you do as a mayor, and they also don't necessarily appreciate the lack of power that a mayor has, in the sense that it's a governance role. It is not a management role. Yeah. So people would say, your council is doing X, Y, and Z, and I go, well, they're following rules and regulations that are overseen by the chief executive, not by the mayor.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's an interesting dichotomy, I guess, when you look at what people's perception of the role is and what it actually is in practice. But I always saw my role, like chairing the council meetings, as trying to find compromises, trying to work my way around, because there would be opposing points of view, and I'd try and see. I'll tell you what frustrated me more than anything else: councillors who did not read their papers before they came to the meetings. The pre-reading,
yeah.
I couldn't stand it, and it was obvious, the ones that didn't. And I know that some people put extra effort in because doing that amount of reading was tough. And I appreciated them, but not those that were smart enough to know how to, position their contribution to the debate to get the headline rather than actually do the work.
Do you know this?
And I'm not going to name names.
Might ask you when we stop recording, but this is really interesting. So a couple of weeks ago, I was watching the Information Evening, I don't know the official name for it, for TDC, Tasman District Council, and they were talking about all of those sorts of things, and they're like, do the readings, not just the executive summaries. Like, it's really clear if you don't know your shit. Like, you really need to take that time and be comfortable across it. But also, I mean, because you're so public facing, you can't just glide your way through, No. Like, you're going to get caught out pretty quickly. So,
But the other thing too is that it's you can get by. It's not so much front facing, although it is pretty obvious, if somebody knows what to ask. But the thing is that public perception and the reality of the roles are quite different.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed to me.
Yeah.
But as I say, what I really enjoyed doing was standing up and speaking for the city.
Yeah.
And also I'm a great believer in learning lessons. Like, so we screwed up the comms on the first Port Hills fire. We did. And I've apologised for it and have committed to the council to learning lessons. So when the second Port Hills fire happened, after I'd finished being the mayor, I was thrilled with the way that it was handled. And I was speaking to somebody who's associated with the council, and I said it just felt like that they had learnt the lessons from our previous mistakes.
Which is the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Like that's,
and they said they had the report in front of them. It was a checklist. And I thought, wow. And I felt really good about that. You know, I feel bad about us making mistakes in the first place, but I'd have felt worse if the council had learnt nothing from it. And I keep watching that with central government not learning the lessons from the Canterbury earthquake sequence.
No, that's really interesting. And so in my role, I facilitate lessons learned for the big construction projects as well. And I'm
Can I give you my phrase?
Please.
This is this is an original Lianne Dalziel expression.
Yeah.
Lessons are not learned until they're embedded in practice.
Yeah. So that's a really funny thing, because lessons learned is not new to contracting, right?
Yeah.
But it is incredible how many times people will win a new contract and they won't even like review the things from the last time and that sort of thing, and then they repeat the same things, and I just think it's what a shame, but also what's the point? And I think that it does take a really good leader to understand that they can add value and they can take things their own way and stuff, but you have to look back to look forward, right?
But the other thing is that, and I remember going to see a speaker who'd come to New Zealand after the earthquakes as part of the Share an Idea, I think, the International Speaker Series. Oh no, it wasn't. I did go to that. So after the earthquakes, I immersed myself in everything that I could find out about disasters, and particularly about recovery. And so I used to get my office to ring, engineers, Seismic Engineers Association or whatever, and say, the MP would like to come to your conference because you've got an overseas speaker. And so they would say, yeah, that's fine. She can stay for the whole thing if she wants, So, and people were really open to me attending their conferences just so that I could learn stuff.
You're just soaking it up. Yeah.
I was like a sponge. Anyway, I went to this conference, and this guy, David Alexander, I'm going to say, he was the head of the World Risk Forum at the time. And he gave this talk, and he had this diagram where he basically talked about lessons learned. So you do the analysis after something's happened, and he put them into two boxes, and that was it archived, filed, basically forgotten.
Yeah.
And the next line out from it was vulnerability maintained. But if the top, where you learn, embed, do all these things at the top, and you then you're building resilience. So you either maintain your vulnerabilities, because disaster happens because of vulnerability.
Yeah.
So you either maintain it, or you build resilience. And I think we should be always in the building resilience space.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's so funny. What do you think that like the younger version of you would think about your career and kind of how your life has panned out?
Gobsmacked.
Yeah, like for real though, eh?
Did that happen?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
That's quite incredible. And what do you think about like if
Well, I went back to university last year.
Yeah, I heard you say that at the start, and I was like, you're just a keen learner, eh? You just must be
Well, I believe
committed.
in lifelong learning, and now I've just proven that it doesn't matter what age you are, you can still learn more.
Do you know, I love that, and one of the reasons why I do this podcast is to share that exact message, that it's never too late, and like
never too late.
What do you really want to do, and what are you interested in, and I really want to encourage people that you don't have to give up your full-time job or whatever. Like, if you've got bills to pay, that's so normal. But if you want to start a little side hustle, or you want to go to night classes, or,
100%.
like learn some pottery and do a little market or whatever, like just do the thing.
And the other thing is it's a dementia prevention strategy as well.
Yeah.
Because, people think, doing crosswords, no. It's teaching your brain to do new things.
Yeah.
It's teaching new things to your brain. So that's the key to reducing the likelihood of dementia.
Totally. And even just a general kind of happiness thing as
Yeah.
well, eh? Like
100%.
life can be pretty
I'm going to
grim.
go to a graduation ceremony. I've never been to my own graduation ceremony before. I've only been to others.
That's so funny. Yeah, my husband's the same.
I didn't go to my first graduation because I just I was late getting my application in because I was useless and hopeless back in the day, and I just scraped through my degree. I mean, imagine me looking at my first class honours grades now. Back then, you couldn't have told me I could get, I probably thought that I could if I did some work, but I did no work and just scraped through with the bare minimum back in the day. In fact, I wouldn't even have been allowed to do a law degree back then.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was today.
In modern, that's really interesting as well. And I think that that's another message that I like to share with people is don't be afraid of studying. You don't have to be 18 to study, and actually
it's so nice to sit down at tables with young people. You know, like I liked the reason I chose the course that I did was because it was in person. You had to turn up to class.
Yeah.
Some of them were small classes and others were bigger classes because they shared them with people who were doing the subject area in more depth. But I just found it, I found it great. I've never been happier.
And I think that there's also, like, when you have some life experience, you can talk on things a little bit easier, and you get things a bit clearer and things, but...
well, everything was relevant. I did the rights of Indigenous peoples, and so I wrote my essay on the Treaty Principles Bill.
In real time.
Which was my bugbear piece of legislation that I spoke of before.
I bet it would have been, and we are just about out of time, but what advice would you give to someone that would like to go down a similar kind of life path as you, or just maybe in general? Well, like some of the advice that you would have liked to give to your younger self.
Well, I think be open to other people, you know, perhaps suggesting a pathway. Yeah. And don't be afraid to take it on. You can always walk away. There's no harm in doing that. I could have left Parliament. I stayed there for 23 years, so I could have walked away if I hadn't wanted to stay, and I probably would have stayed on if I hadn't gone into the mayoralty. But I think being open, being I don't know, empathetic and understanding, and never giving up, you know. So one of the aspects of being a member of Parliament that I truly valued, probably more than anything else, was the ability to sit down with people who'd come to tell you what was not going well in their lives. And often people wouldn't necessarily tell me what that was to start with, but it would come out. Yeah. And I finally learnt, well, I used to say to people, imagine that we're here in a month's time and we've been successful. Tell me what that would look like for you. Because if people don't think what the outcome is that they want, if they don't think about that, then I'm not going to really know whether I can point you in the right direction.
Totally.
And when I say point in the right direction, don't fix things for people. Always be open to how you can help people fix things for themselves, because that is the key to building resilient communities. So that's my special number one message.
I love that, eh? We're not talking ambulance at the bottom. We're talking what can we implement that changes that outcome, and a bit of a solution, but you're not saying, here's the solution. It's like, these are the tools or the language or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Look, we in the city have been through a massive trauma. And some friends of mine have been writing a book, so they haven't published it yet, but it speaks to post-traumatic growth. So instead of the grief side of it, It's the growth side of it.
Yeah.
And I always say that with every disaster comes opportunity. And I know that I'm not the first person to say that, but it does.
Yeah.
It always presents opportunity to build resilience, opportunity to do things better, opportunities to rethink the way things might be in the future. So there's always an opportunity in there if you look hard enough. So I think that's kind of another aspect of the note of not wanting to do things for people, but actually empowering people and communities to do things for themselves.
Yeah.
So I always say, people say, what are you proud of? Well, I might say that the Governor's Bay jetty, which we ended up selling to the community for $1 so that they could fix it themselves. And that does more to build social capital in a community than the council going in with its machinery and getting it done.
Totally skin in the game, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, right. I totally love that. One last one. I know I said that last time, but you just keep giving me these gems. Next on the cards for you, is this a book?
Oh, yeah, no, I probably will write a book, but not about me, because that would be boring. I want to write a book about the importance of lessons learned.
Yeah.
I want to, I don't know if this will be the title of the book, but I want to pose the question, when will we ever learn?
That's super cool. That should be it, eh? That maybe that is. When will we ever, with a underlying line underneath it, ever learn?
Yeah.
Well, Lianne, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute
Zoe.
pleasure. I feel like, just flicked off my ring. Gotta find that later.
Oh, yes.
I feel like I have learnt a lot. It's been a real pleasure. It's also really cool. I don't connect with a lot of people that probably have a similar experience being in disaster recovery at a young, so when I was kind of going through that, I was obviously surrounded in engineers and things, but none of my friends that I grew up with or that I studied with in Dunedin or anything really had a clue in terms of just what that really involved and the kind of working till 2 o'clock in the morning and that sort of thing, but actually how, other than being exhausted, how cool it was.
Yeah, I had a woman come up to me after a function I went to. This is going back a couple of years, and she came up to me afterwards and she said, "I remember you from the." She was involved in the church that helped set up the food distribution centre in New Brighton. After the earthquakes, and she said, "I miss those days."
Yeah.
And I actually think that what she meant by that was, I really like working with people, for people, about people, and I really love the sense of community that engenders. And that's what we need to do in normal times, and not just wait for a disaster to have it happen.
Yeah. And not everyone's there just to collect wages. There are some of us that really need a sense of true purpose, to get us out of bed in the morning.
I still think that rather than having 3 days worth of food or something available in the event of an emergency, it's what could you and your neighbours provide for over a week? Because then you'd have to know who your neighbours were.
Yeah.
You'd have to have relationships that you could rely on, and you'd have to be able to trust each other.
Yeah.
And that would be a much nicer neighbourhood to live in than some of the neighbourhoods that we have today, where people don't even know their neighbours.
Don't even say hi or whatever in the
all
driveway.
my neighbours when I was a kid growing up.
Yeah.
But do we know them today? That's what we need to get back. And I mean, September earthquake 2010, that was good because it was the introduction that some of us needed. I mean, I was the MP, so I kind of knew a lot of the neighbours anyway.
Well, this has been incredible. I've really enjoyed myself, and I'm so glad that you said yes to come in on the show. You've obviously got a lot of experience with, working with press and that sort of thing, and this podcast is really up and coming. We're only in season 2, so from the bottom of my heart, just thank you so much.
Well, good on you, and good on you for doing lots of different things in your life, and for giving the opportunity for people just to come along and have a chat.
Oh, thank you, Lianne. And to our listeners, thank you so much for either watching or listening. This episode will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Plains Media. Until next time, thank you.